Welcome, everyone, to this evening's lecture. It's the introductory webinar for our new self-transformation course from brokenness to wholeness. And the course itself is divided into 7 mini courses, each about 4 or 5 sections, for a total of 30 sessions altogether. And you can purchase the course by mini-series as they begin, as we go through the year, or you can purchase the whole course up front for a 20% discount. And the course really looks at the whole process by which we transform our nature and turn ourselves into fitting vessels, potent vessels for divine work. And we'll look at a lot of interesting teachings along the way, the creation of the world, the story of the Garden of Eden, about Rebbes and Hasidim seeking to awaken the divine in souls they find along the way. But before we delve into all that wisdom and spiritual practices, I'd like to begin all of my sessions with a few minutes of meditation. Because I always feel that meditation opens the mind and the heart. And therefore, through those moments of meditation, our consciousness is raised and we're able to receive and understand the words of the teaching from a deeper place, from the higher mind, consciousness of the soul, rather than simply from the intellect and the personality. Then they go deep into our being and change the way we see the world. So find a comfortable position and relax every part of your body, beginning with your head and shoulders, moving all the way down to your toes. Now, close your eyes and turn inward. Begin to breathe in and out, normal fashion, focusing your mind on the movement of the breath. As you breathe, let everything else fade into the background. Sounds and movements around you, noise coming from outside, all the thoughts whirling around your head, them all recede far into the distance. They no longer belong to you. It's the whole of your attention on the intake and outflow of your breath. As you breathe, feel your body relax. Your emotions quiet down. Your mind becomes still. That body, mind, and spirit are all aligned together. That you're resonating with the rhythm of your whole being. Feel that you're resonating with everyone in this cyberspace meditation room, wherever they are located across the globe. All of us join together in consciousness and spirit. Feel that you're resonating with everything around you. Feel that your whole being is attuned to the inhalation and exhalation of all life. Don't forget about your breathing. Rest in the stillness and the silence. Welcome everyone again, especially all those who came after we started. In this introductory webinar, I hope to share with you some of the key ideas from the course. Give you a taste of a couple of practices we'll be doing, and to give you an opportunity at the end of the session to ask questions about the course. And we'll also have, after the practice, some time for people to share their experiences. But first, I want to talk about Kabbalah. So main source of Jewish mysticism. Because it's key to understanding the work in this course. So the Kabbalah is an ancient wisdom teaching. And according to the tradition, it was taught to Adam, the first human being, by God, him or herself. And this knowledge was passed down to the patriarch Abraham, who experienced the oneness of all creation and became the first Ivri, one who passed over, the first person to pass out of the illusion of separateness and understand that there's one God who's the source of all that exists. Abraham is the founder of the Jewish religion. The Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Formation, the earliest known Kabbalistic text, is attributed to him. And this tells us something crucial about the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah is not a philosophical system, but a collection of profound insights into the nature of reality that arose out of the inner experiences of the great Jewish mystics. The great mystics ascended on high to touch the realm of oneness, and then they came back to our world of divisiveness and conflict. And were bewildered by the great disparity between their inner experience and the reality of this material plane of existence. And they therefore began to seek within for an explanation of this great gap. And the insights and inspirations that they receive became the basis of the teachings of the Kabbalah. Now today we're going to focus on the teaching of probably the greatest Kabbalist of all time, Rabbi Isaac Luria, commonly known as the Ari, the Lion. The Ari lived in 16th century Israel. He was at the center of the mystic circle in the north of the country, in the city of Sfad, or Safed. And the Ari sought answers to this existential dilemma in the dynamics of the genesis of the manifest universe. According to the Ari, during the first few moments of creation, in an act reminiscent of the Big Bang of the physicists, God sent a burst of light and energy direct from the realm of the infinite and the absolute into the nascent universe. However, this fragile vessel could not contain the power of the infinite light, and it shattered. And as a result, the original structure of the entire universe collapsed, and a new reality formed in its place. This new universe, sparks of divine light, nitzutz, are fused with shards of concrete matter, klipot. And everything that exists is a mixture of light and darkness, good and evil, joy and sorrow, success and failure. As a result of this cosmic shattering, nothing in this universe is perfect. Nothing is whole. Everything is in a state of essential brokenness. All is chaos, tohu. And this is the reason for the suffering and difficulty we see all around us, in whichever direction we turn. Now, if this was the whole of the Ari's teaching, then no one be learning his books anymore. It would just be too depressing. So there's another side to the Ari's teaching, a message of tremendous hope. Yes, our world may be in a state of brokenness, but that brokenness is not irreparable. It can be fixed. Amid the fragmentation, there's the possibility of healing and repair, called in Hebrew tikkun. We have the power within us to raise the sparks out of the darkness and unite them again to their supernal source. We can lift ourselves out of our broken state and return ourselves and the world to wholeness. Using the power of heart, mind, and soul, we can overcome the limitations of our lower nature and become our true selves. This is the fundamental work of tikkun, of curing and restoring, that lies at the heart of our task as human beings in this world. So how do we accomplish this work of self-transformation? How do we discover what our particular tikkun or repair is in this life? The beginnings of an answer can be found in the teachings of Rabbi Asher Tzvi of Ostrach, a disciple of the Maggid of Mezerich, who was the successor to the Baal Shem Tov and the person who built the foundation for the Hasidic movement. Rabbi Asher Tzvi teaches that if we want to discover the purpose of our life, then we need to look for the attribute that is our greatest weakness. For fixing this weakness lies at the center of our spiritual evolution. This is an amazing idea. Everyone is a mixture of strengths and weaknesses. Everyone has his or her imperfections and faults. That's what it means to be a human being. But most of us concentrate on developing our strength and try to hide away our weaknesses. Rabbi Asher Tzvi is telling us that even though this approach makes perfect sense from a material point of view, from a spiritual perspective, it has everything completely wrong. Our strengths have been developed in other lives and do not require our attention. It is our weaknesses that are the key to our spiritual growth. They are the reason that we have come into this world. The Baal Shem Tov, playing on the Hebrew, calls this work making an oyev into an ohev, turning an enemy into a beloved. Quoting the saying from the Ethics of the Fathers, chapter 4, verse 1, who is strong? The one who conquers his evil inclination. Baal Shem Tov points out that the text says conquers his nature and not kills or destroys it. The real hero, he says, is the person who can transform his or her weakness into virtues and turn them towards the service of God. Our goal is not just to conquer, but to unveil the light and let it shine forth within us in all of its glory. This is the meaning of Psalm 118, verse 22, Eved ma'asu habonim haita l'rosh pinah. The stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. We are transforming the part of us that we have until now rejected into the cornerstone of our lives. Now this leads us to our first practice, the attribute that you need to repair. So we're going to do this practice together as a contemplation. So once again, settle yourself, close your eyes, and begin to breathe in and out, focusing your mind on the movement of the breath. So again, as a contemplation, you open up yourself to the intuition and inspiration, and not just to the meanderings of the mind. In and out, focusing on the movement, intake and outflow of the breath. Let everything else fade into the background. Sounds around you movement going on outside, thoughts whirling around your head, all recede far in the distance. And place the whole of your attention on the intake and outflow of the breath. And as you breathe, again, feel your body relax. Emotions quiet down. Mind becomes still. Body, mind, and spirit is all aligned together. And that you are resonating with the rhythm of your whole being. Now turn inward, deep into your being. Try to contemplate what is your attribute that you need to repair. What is the transformation you need to go through in your life? Is it the movement from heartlessness into compassion? Greed to generosity? Hate to love? Anger to peace? Criticism to acceptance? Discontent to contentment? Pride to humility? Insecurity to divine confidence? jealousy to happiness and in others' happiness. Despair to joy. And grievance to gratitude. And turn to God, to the higher power, and ask for help to clearly see the work that you need to do. Help to bring that work to fruition. Now let go of all thoughts and rest in the stillness and the silence that is within.
Thank you, Rabbi Yoel.
Thank you. But first, before you talk, I'd like to introduce you.
Sure.
Introduce everyone to Rena Perkel, our Director of Curriculum, who's helped me preparing this course. And it's wonderful to work with her, and she brings a lot of life and vitality and inquisitiveness into our sessions.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. It's so wonderful to see so many of you. I see a lot of familiar faces and a lot of new people. And I wanted to ask the group, how is this practice for you? Were you able to get in touch with a specific attribute that you need to repair and truly access? What is your spiritual tikkun that you need to make? Would love to hear your thoughts, please share in the chat box.
Hi, I'm more of a talker than I am a chat box.
Sure, go ahead, Mitzi.
It was very powerful. I kept waiting for the next possibility. I was like, no, that's
Can you
not it.
speak
What's
up
the
a
next
bit,
one?
Mitzi? I can't quite hear you.
Oh. I'm sorry. I was saying it was a really deep meditation, but I kept waiting for the next one. I was like, no, that's not it. What's the next one? What's the next one? And I'm working with procrastinating, unfocusedness, and I guess I was looking for maybe mindfulness, if that fits, but thank you.
Okay, well, good to know what you're looking for. You know, so there you spent your time in the place you needed to be at.
Michael,
Mine
go
were
ahead.
just suggestions, you know.
Sorry, Michael, go ahead.
It was really lovely to feel, as you said, certain things, to be with them, and rather than go to them with the mind, feel them in the body and feel, does that feel like where the work is? Does that resonate somewhere within me? And hearing which ones had certain resonance, which felt clear and clean. And I don't know, they felt like good cues to where that unique work might lie. So thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Val, go ahead.
Yeah, it felt as though there were many interconnections between several where they maybe were related one to another. One problem or challenge might be connected to, for example, anger would be connected to fear, would be a lack of trust. And so recognizing that there was an interconnectedness of many of these.
If one finds, I think what I have found over time with that interconnectedness, if you keep going deep enough, you find there's one particular quality that's at the root of all of it, and everything else comes out of it. And that's the place you're looking for. And something you've been carrying for lives, you know, and you have an opportunity in this life to overcome it.
Thank you, Val. Abe, go ahead.
What happens if you know your tikkun, but you always push it off, that when I get 30 or 40 or 50, and you don't want to take care of it now because I'm too young, or I'm just, I love what I I know it's bad, but I like what I do.
Well, you know, as they say, you know, the shop is open and the collectors are going to come around and collect the debts. And if you want to play the game, go ahead. But, you know, they'll be at the door. But more than anything, really, it's not so much about reward and punishment as we'll talk about karma, really. It's about what you create in yourself, you know, and how it affects you, you know, because if there's something in you that you know needs to be transformed, you're allowing that to grow. And the problem is that the older you get, the harder it is to change. And so actually, I wished I had your advantage of being your age, so I can work on the things that I know now about and that I didn't see then, you know, because they change your life and allow you to be so much more your true self. And that's really the key. All these aren't like, oh, things I have to get rid of because they make me bad, but they are veils and walls between myself and myself, between my lower self and my higher self. And when we feel our higher self, then we feel whole and we feel absolutely right. And that's really how the place in which we want to live life, in my opinion. But I understand the pull.
Cool.
Thank you, Raviol. That was awesome. I'm just going to read some comments that were shared in the chat box. And then if anyone else wants to share, feel free after that. Sarah Leah said, I felt like there were so many of the possibilities that I wanted to work on. There wasn't one specific one, and there were definitely ones that I felt didn't apply. I would love a list of the possibilities again and to write them down for the future.
Thank you for sharing. I just wanted to add that there's a beautiful teaching from the Baal Shem Tov that we'll talk about it I think in the second series of the course, where he says, life is a mirror. Everyone and everything that happens is mirroring yourself back to you. And God's giving it to you so you can see yourself, because otherwise, how do we see ourselves? We can't see ourselves except through a mirror.
Thank you.
Okay, next comment was from Anne Andrew. She said, yes, I clearly need to work on criticism, to acceptance and insecurity, to confidence. I enjoyed contemplating each possibility as it was mentioned. Gail shared self-doubt / fear. Brian shared he felt he needed to work on many changes. Susan shared, one second. I echo what Michael speaks, the support to be dispassionate, the knowing that there is a structure, a raison d'etre, a source for the mission to behold, and in fact, it is my reason to be, and I'm part of a loving community, made what is an individual, hidden, overwhelming struggle into something altogether different. I was also encouraged to hold on to the knowing that the two things I struggle with, boundaries and fear of connection, are of course two faces of the same brokenness.
Beautiful, Susan. Thank you for sharing. Very profound.
Was there anyone else who'd like to share?
Keith had a short comment there, I think.
Keith? Oh, sure. Hold on, let me see.
And Brian raised his hand. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, there it is. Yeah. Keith shared, very true, Rabbi. The younger you are, the more responsive, receptive you are.
And
Brian, go ahead.
Rabbi, could you comment a little bit more on, I related to a number of issues that seemed to ring a bell that would say, well, I'd like to be in a different place, but you talked about getting to a core and what work I could do to connect those or find the root. They all seem somewhat related, but I can't come up with a word or a thought that seems to say, oh, that would deal with my ability to accept things, my ability to be more compassionate about things. I'm just trying to figure out how to get to that one thing.
You don't think about it mentally, you contemplate it in your heart. You can go through the different things that resonated and just let them sit there until you feel one that goes very deep. And you keep moving deeper within your being. What is the root of that? Why do I have trouble with accepting people? Why do I criticize so much? Or why do I get angry? Why do things get to me so much? And you keep getting what's underneath it, what's behind it, what's the source? And you just continue to ask yourself that question until you start to get an intuitive answer coming up. And as you do it, even daily, you'll find that it will start to clarify in the mind. And again, not using the intellect, but opening yourself up in God's presence to hearing and listening. So thank you, Brian, and I hope that's helpful. I'm going to go on now to the next section, where we look a little bit more at how we accomplish this work. And so there is another great Hasidic master, Yisrael of Koznitz, And he actually was talking about tshuva. But in guidelines that he gave for tshuva, he gives us also guidelines for this work of transformation. And what he says is this is the process when we go through. And again, in all of this, I'm giving you some pointers. In the course, we'll go through it all in much greater depth and develop it all and work with practices and meditations. So he says the first thing you have to do is take a good look at yourself. One of the truths of life is most people never look at themselves. They don't want to, it's too frightening. So he says, take an honest look at yourself, see who you are, see the struggles and the fears you have, see your imperfections, see also your dreams, your hopes and your strengths. But really, mostly what you want to find is that place that really hurts and that you know isn't right and that you keep putting aside and not looking at, maybe for your whole life. And then he says the second step is you have to admit what's wrong to yourself. Admit it. This is wrong and I got to change it. And then you'd make that next step is you determine that you're going to change it. I'm not going to let it stay like this anymore. I'm not pushing it away in a corner. I'm not pretending it's okay. Like I had one friend used to always say, God will understand. You have to say, no, God will not understand. I have to, this is my work. And I don't want to leave this world without fixing it. And he says, and then you have to begin to build a plan of action. We start to think, okay, how do I do this? And we'll talk about plans of actions in the course, but even on your own, you know enough about yourself to sort of think, okay, what are the situations that bring it up? How do I respond? How can I change response? What help can I get? You can read up about it. You can think about it. You can look in books. In the Tanakh is filled with teachings about struggling to transform yourself. And that is the key to the work, following this process. And, you know, when it comes to this work, I believe the truth is that all of us want to grow and overcome our challenges. Even if A.B. says he doesn't. I believe he does. I believe in our heart of hearts, we all want to be our true self. But the question is, where do we find the strength to implement these plans? How do we fulfill the work that's needed to make these crucial changes in our life? And here, I think, we go to the central prayer of Judaism, the Shema, because the Shema offers us some direction in this task. The first line of the first paragraph of the Shema declares, and you shall love Adonai your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your might. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha. Now, b'chol levavcha means with your heart, to give your heart over to God. And the second, nefesh, nefesh on one hand means our soul, but when you go into the Guide for the Perplexed, written by the great medieval philosopher Maimonides, he tells you that nefesh really is the intellect, is the mind. And me'odecha is your might. But what is your might? It's really the power of your will. It's not your physical strength, but it's the power of will, the might of being that's at the center of who you are. And so we can see from the Shema that it's by harnessing the power of our heart and our mind and our will that we can bring this inner work to fruition. And in fact, each of these three aspects of ourselves offers us a specific path that we can follow. So begin with the first path, which is the path of the heart. So we do the work when we follow the path of the heart as an offering of love. Think of what you do for people you love. Think of all the romantic stories of people going on long journeys and, I don't know, standing in their balconies at midnight, climbing up house walls, all the kinds of things people do for the people they love. And you're thinking in a real relationship, all the compromises, changes, and sacrifices you make. So you use the love of God to help motivate you, to change your character. And you use your devotion to give you the strength to overcome all the obstacles that you meet along the path. And then there's the path of the mind. In the path of the mind, you reason things out and then follow the steps that logically will take you to your destination. So, okay, here's a problem. What makes sense? What's a logical way of dealing with this issue? Right? I don't like to help other people. Okay, every day I'm going to do one thing that helps somebody else. Whatever I can do, wherever I see, anywhere. Or I'll go to a soup kitchen and volunteer there, or whatever it might be. But I'll just keep doing that, following what makes sense to me, until it creates a change, until I feel like helping others. Then the third path is the path of the will. In the path of will, you neither reason nor act out of love, but simply harness your willpower and push yourself forward until the goal is reached. You let nothing stop you. Whenever the challenge, you just touch that place of will inside you and say, no, I'm doing it. And every time your mind or heart wants to do something else, you just pull it back and say, we're doing this. And you would not believe what an incredibly powerful and doable path that is. Now, there's a famous story taking from another religion, from Christianity, of St. Francis of Assisi, that he was terrified of lepers. And after he'd already had his experience of God and was walking on the path in the forest one day, he meets a leper. And he's up on a horse. He says, well, I can just go by and pretend he isn't there. Then he says, hold on, I've said I'm dedicating my life to God. I can't go by. So he literally just forces himself off the horse, goes over the leper, takes his hand, kisses it, and then puts some charity in the hand and just speaks to him for a few minutes, treats him like a human being. And he said, from that moment on, everything that I detested became precious to me. And everything that I held precious until that moment was now of no count whatsoever. So these are the three paths that we can follow to gain the strength to do the work that Yisrael Korsnitz has outlined for us. And of course, it's crucial because this isn't just a psychological process, but it's a spiritual process. And therefore, the work must go hand in hand with the practice of meditation and prayer. And we can use a prayer along our path that comes from the tradition, one that we like and feel close to, or we can create our own personal prayer that corresponds to the particular path that we've chosen to follow. And here's an example of such a prayer for the path of the heart. My beloved God, Father, Mother, I do not know why I act the way I do. Out of my deep love for you, I will strive to change this fault of mine, but I need your help and the blessings of your love in order to succeed. Please bless me and shower your love on me. Give me the strength and wisdom to become the person you want me to be. So these are the three paths. And though each of us will be drawn to one particular path, it's likely that we'll make use of all three as we go along our journey of healing and tikkun. but it's best, in my opinion, to choose one path to follow in the beginning. And then as you go along, adapt your method according to what seems right at every moment of the journey. Because we're all going through a process of transformation and tikkun. We all have our weaknesses that we're working on, but we're each at a different stage of the journey. Some of us are still searching to discover the key attribute that lies at the center of our personal transformation. Some of us know what challenges are before us, but we're struggling mightily with how to move ahead. And some of us know what our challenges are and may have even made great strides in confronting and transforming our weakness. But no matter where we are in the process, there's still more work to be done. Now, we've been exploring the concept of Shema and tikkun till now, the work of healing and repair of the brokenness in our world. However, there is teaching about the beginning of creation has another important dimension that we have not really investigated yet. Because as a result of the Shema, not only do we live in a universe that is broken, we also live in a reality where everything is composed of both sparks of light and shards of matter that have been fused together as one. In other words, we live in a world of drastically contrasting realities. On one hand, there's an external physical reality that we see before us every day, reality of names and forms, of struggles and challenges. And on the other hand, there's another inner reality that is always there as well, a reality where all is glorious divine light, where everything is pure being. And we are here to reveal that inner reality because we are here to raise up the fallen sparks. And this idea lies at the heart of our purpose in the world and the work we need to do. And this work begins with ourselves, with the realization that the very core of each of us is an eternal divine spark. The truth is, most of us have never contemplated what it means that we have a divine spark inside us. What does this idea teach us about who we are and how we should live? What does it mean that our real nature is covered over by an external husk or shell? How does this knowledge affect our day-to-day lives? How does this truth change our vision of ourselves? And these are questions that we need to ask ourselves. Once we've contemplated their true meaning, and we need to actualize their teaching in our lives. And during the course, we'll look at a variety of answers to these questions and explore specific spiritual practices and concrete actions that we can take to help us liberate the life and power of a personal spark. Now, the work of raising the sparks begins with ourselves, but it does not end there. There's a divine spark in everyone and in everything. How do we raise the spark in others? How do we uplift and transform our world? So we begin to raise the spark in others by recognizing the divinity in them. And that recognition empowers them to see their own divinity and awakens it to life. And this awareness is the basis of the life of service. We serve them because we see their divinity, because we see ourselves in them. And this is one way of understanding the biblical commandment to love your neighbor as yourself. Love them because they are yourself. There's another level to this work. According to the Kabbalah, some of the sparks that fell into the husks of klipot fell into a place of profound darkness. And these souls have descended into the lowest rungs of reality. And their divine sparks are extremely difficult to raise up again. It is work that takes tremendous spiritual power and strength. It's not a labor that is for everyone. can only be accomplished by a very evolved soul. And the Hasidic masters saw this work as their special mission. They felt that they were brought into this world to redeem these lost souls and bring them back to God. There's a story about an extraordinary disciple of the Maggid of Mezrovich, the Rebbe Reb Zusia of Anipur. And this story provides us with a graphic description of this kind of work. The story is told by the person who was the Torah reader in his house of study. Here he tells this story. When I heard that Rebbe Zusia helped people to turn to God, I decided to go and see him. When I arrived at the house of study in Anipur, I saw the Rebbe wearing his prayer shawl and reciting the psalm, "Answer me when I call. Neni b'yom kareni." And while he said these words, he wept more bitterly than I had ever seen or heard anyone weep before. Then I glanced down on the floor and saw that a man was lying next to the Rebbe, moaning quietly to himself. Suddenly the man began to scream out, "I am a great sinner! I am a great sinner!" He kept repeating this phrase over and over again as he flayed his arms in all directions. When the man stopped screaming and moaning, Rabbi Zusia bent down, took the man, gently turned his head around to face him, and then he lifted the man up with both hands, set him on his feet, and looking directly into his face, Rabbi Zusia proclaimed, "Your iniquity is taken away, and your sin is expiated." Only later, when I had a private meeting with the Rebbe, did I learn the whole story. This man, Reb Zusia told me, was an assistant in the house of study of the town in which he lived. He had committed a great sin, so great that the rabbi there did not know what penance to give him. And therefore, he told the man to go see Reb Zusia and ask him what to do as his penance. And what did Zusia do? The Rebbe said, referring to himself. I climbed down all the rungs until I was with him, and bound the root of my soul to the root of his. Then he had no choice but to do penance along with me. And a very difficult and terrible penance it was. But when I raised him up off the floor, his soul was pure, like the day that he was born. When I heard these words from the Rebbe, I understood the magnitude of Reb Zusia's spiritual power and the depth of his love for those that came to him. And it was then that I decided that I wanted to be the reader in his house of prayer. Now we too can undertake this work of uplifting those on the margins of society. Perhaps not in the grand manner of Reb Zusia and the other Hasidic masters, but the small gestures of caring and loving kindness that will uplift these souls and enrich their lives. Saying hello to a homeless person, giving them a drink, helping someone across the street that is having trouble walking because of the state they're in. Endless means and ways that we can do small things that can lift up other souls, make them feel like human beings again. So we begin by finding the divine spark in ourselves and bringing it to life. Then we become able to see and feel the divine sparks in others. And finally, we learn to redeem the divine sparks that have fallen into the deep darkness and raise them back up into the light. And yet this work that we do is not a solitary endeavor. It's part of the much greater mission of repairing the world, called tikkun olam, of uplifting all of the Jewish people and all of humanity, of healing our planet and everything that lives upon it. We are here to be divine instruments of healing and repair, to recognize the divinity in all people and objects, to experience the oneness of all creation and reveal that sublime and lofty vision in our divided and fragmented world. The Baal Shem Tov teaches that there are specific sparks that belong to our soul, and it is our task in each life to raise those sparks back to their source. This work can take us to unexpected places and situations. It can send us on long voyages to faraway locations at the other end of the planet, can bring us into sudden chance encounters with extraordinary people, can gift us with homes and possessions that we never could have imagined. And all of these places, people, and objects are part of our soul journey. All of them have meaning and purpose, and all are components of the work of healing and repair that we have come into this world to fulfill. I would like to end this session with a short meditation that uses visualization meditation to connect us with this incredible inner voyage. It offers us help in the labor of gathering the divine sparks that are part of our soul. So once again, find a comfortable position. Just relax the body. Close your eyes. Begin to breathe in and out, focusing your mind on the movement of your breath. Let everything else fade into the background. Sounds around you, noise coming from the streets, with thoughts rushing round your mind. Them all recede far into the distance, like they no longer belong to you. Place the whole of your attention on the intake and outflow of the breath. And as you breathe, feel your body relax, emotions calm down, mind becomes still. Feel that body, mind, spirit all aligned together as one. That you're resonating the rhythm of your whole being. Now imagine in your mind a nascent universe. It's a beautiful, fragile globe of dim light. So visualize a great ray of light emerging from the infinite and entering into the very heart of the globe. visualize the great impact of this contact. And then imagine the whole globe shattering and bursting into billions of sparks of light that fall down into the darkness. So visualize yourself gathering the fallen sparks together and forming a beautiful new globe of light. Imagine that you're gathering all of the sparks that are connected to your soul. All the different people, creatures, plants, trees, places, and landscapes, the different objects that you've owned and possessed, used, that have been part of your life journey. Think of the beauty and vitality of each one, even if they are hidden underneath an unappealing exterior, to the role that they have played in your life. Now visualize all these sparks rising upward and flowing into your globe of light. This time, the light of the globe is not dimmed, but shining in all its brilliance, radiating out the light of the infinite. It's glowing in its interior, pulsating with power and life. Bask in its glory. Rejoice in its beauty. Give thanks for the increased divine awareness that you have been gifted through this exercise, through all of those sparks, people, places, and objects throughout your life to this moment. Let go of all thoughts and images and rest in the stillness and the silence.
Thank you, Raviel, for that beautiful meditation. I'd like to ask the group, how was this meditation for you? Were you able to experience the cosmic shattering, the Shavira? And were you able to connect with the sparks in your life and feel the joy of tikkun, of gathering the sparks together and raising them up to the divine with this meditation? Feel free to raise your hands or type in the chat box. Sarah Leah, go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, I was able to imagine, this was really beautiful. I was able to imagine the Shvira. And what was really cool was that as I thought about all the different things that had happened in my life, I imagined it almost like a circle of puzzle pieces that fit one into the other. And every time I plugged one in, it was like the end of the puzzle piece was the light, sort of moving into the circle of the whatever the circle, and I just kept plugging them in, and it was really cool. Like I could plug in like some of the most difficult things that happened in my life, and they gave love. So thank you.
Okay. That's it. You know, that because it's the whole and you're looking at it from a distance and you're seeing them all connecting, you can put pieces in that you normally can't. And also you're looking at it with a wider mind, which also helps you to be in the state of consciousness that allows you to have that openness to find those places. So
and also the understanding and the knowledge that everything we go through in life at the end of the day is always, if we can turn it around, is for our growth and for our benefit, which you had said earlier.
Yes. It's a fun day. One of the seminal teachings of Baal Shem Tov, every encounter that we have in this life was given to bring us closer to ourselves and to God.
Thank you, Sarah Leah. Peter shared, for seconds I was able to connect, must require practice to stay in it.
Yeah. It was a hard meditation to give you to begin with, but it's rich and it grows over time. And we'll come back to it in different forms throughout the course, as well as many other practices and meditations.
Would anyone else like to share?
As give it a moment. If no one else wants to share, we'll go. We can start Q&A, and if someone shares, or as we're going into Q&A, then you can read it, or they can raise their hand and talk. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask about the course. I mean, really as much as the teaching today. This is an opportunity to find out more from the horse's mouth, as they say. And just to remind you that the course is 30 sessions long. It's going to be 8-9 months from now, next week until June. And it's divided into 7 mini-series, each 7 different parts, each one with a different theme. And each of the mini-series is 4 to 6 sessions. And you can either purchase, take just one of or some of the mini-series, or you can be with us for the whole course. And just go to the website .elyon.org, just look my name up, and it'll take you there. Or and it's dot is DAATELYON.org. And that'll direct you to our online academy, where you can see the different courses available.
So
And
you
each
live in
session will be
Jerusalem.
recorded anyways. Yes, Julia.
No, I was asking you. You're from Jerusalem. You live in
I
Jerusalem.
am sitting right now in Jerusalem.
Oh, and you work with Rena
Yes,
before doing the courses. Oh,
yes, we did.
okay.
We've done a bunch of courses, but last year we did an 8-9, actually ended up being 10-month meditation course in a similar fashion with, I don't know how many different series we had, but we had 30 sessions.
And
Yes,
this is
and I
Kabbalah,
worked-
right?
Yeah, Rena's in
This would be
Florida.
Kabbalah.
Pardon?
Yeah, I know Rena. I met Rena. This is Kabbalah. This is not
Kabbalah,
meditation. This would be
Chassidut.
Kabbalah and meditation.
Yeah,
Everything.
everything, yeah. And
I found this course through Rena, actually.
oh, good, wonderful. I hope you
Rena.
got something from it. And also, just to let people know, all the sessions will be recorded. So if you come to some and miss others, or even come for one and want to hear a second time, you'll have an opportunity to do so. And anyone else have a question?
Raviel, I just wanted to highlight something. In excuse me, in developing this course with Raviel, we put in a lot of emphasis on workshopping these concepts. So we've integrated into each session practical exercises where we would break up the entire class into small breakout groups of maybe 3 to 4 people, so that you'll have the chance to unpack these ideas in a personal way, and also get to share them with some of the other people in the group and get to know each other, and just to make it more personal and to be able to apply it, and so that's really transformative. So it's not just ideas or concepts, but that it becomes something that is an actual toolkit or a skill set that you can bring into your life. And that's really been a very important approach for this particular course, is how to make this real, how to make this practical.
We wanted it not to be about just ideas, but an actual pathway for self-transformation that has both elements. One hand, the practical exercise, but also the meditation and practices that connect you to your higher self, because that's what helps power the whole process and makes it a spiritual process. Thank you for pointing that out, Rena. It's very important.
Also, I'm not sure if you mentioned this. Oh, there's a couple of questions coming in. I'm not sure if you mentioned this. Did you mention earlier that people can register for specific series at a time instead of registering for the whole course at once?
Yes, I did, but I'll do it. We've just done it again, and I'll just explain the third time. It's just that the way we've set it up is it's an overarching course, and you can look at it and see what the whole idea behind the course is. But then it has 7 mini-series that are the component parts, and each are at a different time period, and you can purchase one series at a time whenever you want, or only buy some of them.
Yeah.
Some, it's you have both possibilities.
There's a couple of questions here. Anne is asking, how long are the sessions, an hour or longer?
They're 2-hour sessions because we're doing the
Oh.
breakout groups, and we want people to really be able to put their energy into it. And they will always be on Sunday night at this time period at 7 o'clock Israel time, noon on the East Coast, and 9 a.m. on the West Coast. Is the way I could fit as many places as possible into the one time frame.
Okay, another, John, I see you. Just one quick question, Keith, that wanted to ask. He's asking, what are the key differences between this course and last year's? I think he's referring to the meditation course that Keith was part of. Yeah.
First of all, this is all about self-transformation and tikkun midot, repairing, transforming your nature and character, but coming at it from a profound spiritual direction, and will be quite a teaching of wisdom that brings insight and energy to that process. But there'll be the breakout groups and a lot more practical work to do. Of course, it's everybody's choice how much they put into it, but if you take those practices and do them at home, you'll see the changes taking place. And there'll be people, I recommend people keep a spiritual diary of their experiences during the practices and meditations and notes about the teaching and questions, because all that together becomes invaluable as you're trying to actually go through this process of change. And it is my hope and intention that people that begin the course will come out of it feeling changed and transformed and more deeply connected to their higher self and more a master of their lower self, and really have integrated the two together into one.
Thank you so much, Raviel. John, go ahead.
Yeah, Robert, can you explain how the account of the cosmic shattering fits in with the account in Genesis of the creation story? I don't know whether I'm looking at it from the completely wrong point of view as some kind of historical timeline, and I realize we're talking about spiritual matters here and not chronological.
It very much fits in, but that would take 20 minutes to explain. But it actually is a paradigm for all of human history. And actually that's the third, in the first series, that's the name of the third session. The implications of the paradigm of shattering and repair for humanity and human history. And we'll be talking about that. And it's a fascinating, completely innovative way of looking at human history and Jewish history that gives one a completely different perspective that I think is far more powerful, uplifting and inspiring and empowering. So we will go there.
Well, I'll say no more at this stage and wait with eager anticipation for that.
Okay, I think you won't be disappointed.
Yeah,
I'm not. I found it, I am constantly inspired by the richness that this idea brings in many different ways and in the writings of different teachers. we'll be talking about the Ari, but we'll also be talking about Rabbi Akiva. We'll be talking about Levi Yitzhak of Berdichev. We'll be talking about Avram Isaac Cook, about their thoughts on cosmic shattering and repair, the Shvir and Tikkun, and how that affects our life, our reality, and the future of humankind and our planet.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to, thanks, John, that was a great question. I just wanted to, I just wanted to ask everyone here today, if you could share this recording. We're going to post it on YouTube, and just if you could share it with a friend, if each one of you could share with a friend and tell them about this course. I have been learning Kabbalah for over 20 years now from many different teachers, and as you know, you guys know, I produced a documentary on Kabbalah, so I've been very immersed as a student, as a teacher, and just like what Yoel just said, mind blown, like constantly with these very innovative concepts and the application of these concepts, right? That so much of Kabbalah tends to be so theoretical and philosophical. I think Rav Yoel has done a really great job at bringing it down to like how this impacts who we are, how this impacts our lives, what are we supposed to do with this? Not just beautiful ideas, but what are we actually going to do with this stuff, and how's this going to make our lives better? So would love for you all to share.
Yes, I really appreciate it, as I really would like to reach as many people as possible.
Awesome. So is there anything else? Let's see. I think Sarah asked how much of the classes is like the learning and how much is the breakout rooms?
So, you know, each class is a slightly different balance. We have different things we'll have, like a practice that we do together, or a meditation, and then a discussion and sharing. Sometimes there'll be breakout groups. Sometimes there's 2 breakout groups in one session. Sometimes there's a long Q&A. Certain sessions have a long passage of teaching that create a foundation, and then we go out and you know, each person explores it. But
It's a nice balance.
It's a very, I think, good balance as you move through the class. I'm giving it 2 hours. That's including all the Q&A at the end, etc., so that people can get all their answers to all the questions they have from that session.
And also for those who haven't been in any of the courses previously, the meditations get cut out of the main course so that you can do the meditations individually. So you have these practices available, right? So you have these practices available to you constantly. So it's not just about, you know, just showing up once a week, but really using these tools throughout and always accessing them and having them available to you.
Each session, after each session, you'll get a recording, you'll get a document with the practices and with the text. Each session will also have text. And we'll also have recordings of any meditations that we do, or contemplations. Anyways, I think we'll end now. Thank you, Rena. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. I hope to see you next week. And God bless you all. And please let other people know and share. And a beautiful onward journey to everyone.